If you're a fitness coach and your sales calls suck right now, like people hop on a call and they say I need to think about it or they just don't close at all, I'm going to tell you something that's going to frustrate at first. Because the reason it's not the sales call, it's not your script, and it's not that you are more confident. The problem started weeks before they even hop on a call with you. And once you see the problem, you will never unsee it. And it's going to change completely the way that you view your business. And it's not going to be some type of you just need to be more confident on the sales type of advice. It's going to be the practical reason to why this is happening to you and how you can fix it. And if you're wondering why you should even listen to me, well, let me present myself. I'm Sebastian, and I've been helping fitness coaches scale their business to multiple 6 and 7 figures a year in the talent market in the last 2 years. And these are some of the results that I was able to help them achieve. Gianluca right here, our first client, he was able to achieve 1 million euros in revenue in the first 2 years of working with us. Right here, Leonardo, he was able to generate 30k in 1 month. Giulio, one of our latest additions, 8k euros in the first month of working with us. And right here, Davide with another small win, 30k in the first 2 weeks of the month. And this is only some of the results that I was able to help them achieve. Now, let me describe your situation a little bit. You probably hop on a call, the person looks convinced, and then they tell you that they're kind of interested, and then they hit you with the, let me think about it, let me talk to my partner. Can you send me more info? And it becomes frustrating because you know you can help them, but for some reason they can't close. And so you're just thinking that you're bad at sales and you start doing what any other reasonable person is going to do. You buy some courses, you buy some mentorships to help you on sales, you start buying whatever the guru of the month has right now, you try to apply it and then you still don't close. And the whole reason to why those sales calls fail, it's not because of the sales call itself, but it's because everything that led up to that call, it's wrong. But coaches don't see it that way, because they only focus on the last part. But in reality, it's something that happens way before that call and that all of you ignore. A bad sales call is a marketing problem. And I know that sounds weird, but let me explain. Because most coaches think about marketing and sales like two completely separate things. Marketing is your Instagram, your content, and your reels. And sales is just the call. But that's not how it actually works. Because here's what marketing is actually supposed to do. And I mean the main thing that it's supposed to do. Destroy false beliefs and objections in someone's mind before they even talk to you. That's it. That's marketing entire jobs. Not to get views, not to get likes, and not to look professional. But now, those things might happen along the way. But marketing's main job is to make sure that by the time someone books a call with you, they should already believe that your approach works, that you specifically can help them, and that now it's the right time to act. And the call is just for the personal stuff that your content couldn't cover, such as the schedule, the budget, the situation, and the logistics. But you shouldn't do the heavy lifting on that call alone. And let me give you a little example that actually made this click for me. Some nights ago, I was watching a documentary on Netflix about trial lawyers, and the lawyer said something that really stuck with me. He said that the closing argument doesn't win the case. The evidence does. This means that by the time the jury hears the closing argument, they already made up their mind based on all the evidence that led up to it. And so the closing argument simply confirms what they already believe. And when I heard that, I said, this sounds familiar. Because your content is the evidence. Your post, your reels, your story, that's all the evidence that you gather in weeks. And the closing argument, it's simply the call. And so if you put up a lot of strong evidence before the call, the prospect is going to hop on it and it's going to be basically convinced. But what happens if you never put up evidence before the call? Now you're walking in the courtroom with no evidence, trying to close the case in 30 minutes, objection handling your way out of there. Of course it feels impossible to do, because you're trying to cram in 30 minutes something that you should have done in weeks. There's going to be a 99% chance that you're never going to close the call. So let me actually show you what this looks like in practice. Think about who's sitting on the other side of the call. They probably tried 2 or 3 programs before you. Maybe a diet plan from some influencer, maybe they had a PT at the gym who gave them a PDF and disappeared. Maybe they downloaded a 12-week plan and followed it for 5 weeks and maybe life just happened. And some of it kind of worked, but most of it didn't stick. Now they're on your call with this voice in the back of their head going, yeah, I've heard this before. And I see this all the time. Your prospect is going to think, I already tried this before, it's not going to work. And so you think that this is just an objection that you need to handle. But in reality, it's something that you should have done weeks before that, with your content. And I see this all the time with coaches, because when the prospect says, I already tried this, it's not going to work, they think that's an objection and that they need to be better at handling it. But in reality, that's simply a belief that they have that your content should have dismantled weeks before that. What you need to do is show them why your method works. If you've never made a video explaining why the tactics that they tried didn't work, and I don't mean those coaches are scammers, but something that goes like, here's specifically why that approach fails you at your stage, then they show up to the call still carrying all that skepticism, and you're trying to do months of disappointment in 30 minutes. Good fucking luck with that. But what about all the coaches who close easily? Well, they've made a video explaining why the cookie cutter meal plan didn't work for them. And not because they lack discipline, but because it was designed for a 22-year-old bodybuilder and not a 30-year-old parent working 50 hours a week. They've broken down why willpower isn't the issue to why the approach that they were following was never going to stick for someone in their situation. And by the time that prospect hop on a call, the whole "I tried everything and nothing works" completely disappears. And the second thing that you need to take care of is why you can help them. Because that person might trust that online coaching works in general. They might even think that your method sounds good, but they don't trust you, specifically you, as the person who can deliver it for their situation. Because your content taught them stuff, but it didn't show them who you are. It didn't give them a story about someone who was in exact situation. And I'm not talking about a generic before and after, but I'm talking about someone with their specific struggle, their specific doubt, who was able to go through it. And here's how you know if this is your problem. When someone hops on a call with you, does it feel like they already know you? That they've been catching up with months of content before they hop on a call with you? Or does it feel like the first meeting? Because if it feels like a first meeting, then your content isn't doing its job. That person needs to feel like they already know you because they consumed hours of content before the call. They need to know what your face looks like, what your voice sounds like, what your personality is like. That call should feel a little more intimate. And now this is probably the biggest topic, and this is something that a lot of people don't really talk about. People don't make decisions logically because the decision to hire a coach is emotional. The prospect doesn't sit there on your call doing the math. What happens is they feel something. They feel understood. They feel like you actually get what you're going through. They feel that maybe for the first time, change is actually possible for the specific situation. And from that feeling, they decide. What about the emotional shift? It's supposed to happen before the call, through your content. And so when someone watches a video where you describe their life, and I mean really describe it, like what it feels like to track the macro and still looking the same in the mirror, following a program for 6 weeks and then falling off a cliff, the feeling of doing everything the last coach told them to do and still not seeing results. And then you explain why that happened in a way that actually makes sense for the first time, something clicks for them. They're going to sit on a couch at 11 p.m. having some kind of relief. And that's the moment they decide they want to work with you. Not on a call, but on the couch weeks before that call. At the end of the day, on that call, they simply need to say, I want to work with you. How much does it cost? But if your content never created in that moment, you're trying to cram in 30 minutes, a lot of disappointment, objection handling, and trying to convince them to why they should work with you. Of course it feels impossible to do. And if you're wondering why I know all of this, it's because I experienced it firsthand. Now, before I decided to become a business coach, I hate that term, I actually experienced all of this with my first client, Gianluca. Long story short, we were still in Italy and we decided to work together. And we did what the internet told us to do, to be viral. And we actually achieved that. You can see right here, we were able to generate 74 million views in a month alone on Instagram. And we should have been excited, like, oh my god, we're going to be rich. But that actually never happened. Yes, we had a lot of leads, but since we had so much traffic, I needed to hop on a call with them to close them. And every single lead was so bad. Some people didn't even knew that they had to pay for the service. Like, that's the funny part. Something wasn't clicking. And after buying some courses, mentorships or whatever, we found out why. And it all started with our content. And so we shifted completely the way that we posted. And you can see right here the exact moment all of that happened. Because we started getting less views, yes, absolutely, but we started getting a lot more money. And you can see right here, we almost reached 100k euros. Simply because we were handling the objections before they even hop on a call with us. And if you're still not convinced, let me ask you something. Why do you think that coaches who are not good at selling are able to close maybe 7 or 8 packages out of 10? Meanwhile, the coach who got the sales mentorship, it's only able to close maybe 2 or 3 out of 10. It's not because you need to be a monster on the sales call. It's much easier than that. You just need to pre-handle all the objections before they even hop on a call with you. The call, it's there just for the logistics. It's just a formality if you do it right. The only thing that you need to do is give them a last push. But that's not hard to do. You already did the heavy lifting before the call. You shouldn't do that all on a call. That's impossible. Now, enough talking. How does this look like practically? Well, the first thing that you need to do in your videos is describe your client's situation so accurately that they feel exposed. And I don't mean in a mean way, but what they need to think, it's like, holy shit, how does this person know my life so much? You need to describe what it's like to follow a program for 6 weeks and then completely fall off. You need to describe what it's like to hire a coach who gave you a meal plan and a PDF and then barely checked in. You need to describe what it feels like when you're doing everything right and you still hate the way you see yourself in the mirror. You describe the specific frustration of doing what everyone told you to do and not getting results. And when you do all of these things, that's when the right people find you. They self-select because they'll think that you've made that video specifically for them. And that's the beginning of trust. You will never be able to build trust the way that these videos do. And the second thing that you need to do is break the beliefs that keep them stuck. For example, the idea that they just haven't found the right diet yet, or the right program, or the right coach. They've been bouncing from one thing to the next for years. For example, a 12-week challenge here, a macro plan here, maybe a PT who had them doing the same workout for months straight. And nobody ever sat them down and explained them that the programs weren't really the problem. The problem is that none of those approaches were built for their actual life, their schedule, the stress, the way that they eat, and when things get busy. It's always someone else's plan shoved into their situation. And when you make this type of content that breaks a belief, that makes them say, I wasn't the problem, something else was, that's when you build so much trust to the point that they just have to buy from you. And the third thing, and probably most important point, you need to show proof that matches their exact situation. And I don't mean generic testimonials. I mean stories from people who look like them, who were in their shoes, who had the same doubts. If your prospect biggest fear is, this won't work for me because I'm too busy, you need to show a client story about someone busier than them who made it work. And if their fear is, for example, I've tried everything and nothing sticks, you need a client who felt the exact same way and tell the full story of what they were doing before getting there. You guys focus too much on the after. You need to focus a lot more on the before, because that's where people are right now. The before is the most important part, and this is probably the thing that a lot of people overlook. You always show the ending result, but you need to understand something. People have a built-in system that allows them to cope on why they weren't able to achieve such situation. And so the moment you show factual proof that someone that had a situation worse than them was able to achieve that, then they have no excuse. This is what moves them. And so at the end of the day, your content needs to do all of these three things. You need to make them feel understood, you need to break the beliefs that keep them stuck, and you need to show them proof of why what they want it's possible to achieve. So here's what I would do if I were you. Go look at your last 10 to 15 posts and be completely honest. Did any of these posts describe your client's situation? Did any of them break a belief? Did any of them show proof so specific that they can say, no, this is impossible for me to do? If the answer is probably one or two, then you have a problem, and that's where you need to start. And the moment you fix all of this, your sales calls are going to get a lot better. And not because you're just going to have better quality leads, but because it's just going to be much easier for you to actually help them. You don't have to manipulate them, you don't have to do all these crazy tactics, just give them a little honest push and then they're going to buy. Now, if you want me and my team to take care of your situation, down below there's going to be a link to book a call with me. On that call, we're going to look at your current situation, understand your goals, see if we can achieve them, and from there we decide if we can work together or not. Again, it's not a sales call, it's just to understand your situation. And I make videos like this every single week. So if you like them, subscribe.